And so over the last year, suddenly a bunch of people inside of Disney in particular, because that's where the most chaos is, right? We're joining and contacting me through DM, like, hey, this is who I really am, and this is what I do at Disney, and this is stuff. And they started feeding me real intel, right? They started, like, I started scooping people, like with that whole thing, remember months ago when Bob Chapek announced that they were going to do big layoffs, right?
Yeah.
And today they did those layoffs. Like Iger just did his layoffs and took credit for it, right? Remember they announced that, whatever, in October, or whenever it was. One of my Disney employees heard about that internally and sent me the memo before it was announced anywhere by 2 days. Like literally, Hollywood Reporter and Variety didn't know, and they sent it to me, and I was like, I don't know if this is true, but what the fuck, right? So I put it out there, right? Ended up scooping the entire industry by 48 hours. Like I put it out on Wednesday, and then Variety and Deadline reported on Friday, right? And so that's the quality of the kind of people I've got, who literally are like providing me that kind of intel before it even gets into the system of Hollywood, right? So I had several of those moments. And then in the last several months, so I already had those people that were coming in, and I was proving it because I was like scooping things, right? Then the last several months, a particular source who we've come up with a code name for them, a particular source who I call Sparrow, right? It's called Sparrow, or it could be her. I call this person Sparrow, right? I call this person Sparrow, and they are at a very high level within Disney. I'm not saying they're at Lucasfilm, they're within Disney. All I'm saying is that, and they have a personal axe to grind against some of the people inside of Lucasfilm, and I've confirmed who they are. And so over the last several months, this person, who was very much on a personal vendetta to expose the misfortunes inside of Lucasfilm, started leaking all this incredible information, including human resources data, like who's going to be fired, like stuff that's totally confidential. And they leaked it to me. And I was like, all right, well, I know this person is for real, and I know they have access to this information, right? So I'm like, screw it, I'm going to put it out. And this caused major panic inside of Lucasfilm, because it got to the point where they were reporting to me actual conversations that Pablo Hidalgo was having with people, like that level of intel.
Wow, that's crazy. That is so crazy.
Hidalgo just said this to somebody. And that led to a level of panic inside of Lucasfilm, because everything I was reporting was true. It was stuff that Kathleen Kennedy knew, like the list of people that are going to be fired, and Hidalgo's name is on it, and others people's names are. Not everyone at Lucasfilm, but within the story group, I got the list of people that
are big names.
Yeah, they're big
they
names.
are.
And HR created, it was an HR list, so explained why they'd be fired. Like some of them apparently have Me Too problems. Some of them have other things, right?
Oh, God.
So this
Yeah,
is kind
that
of
was
HR. When you're going to fire somebody, you've got to create an evidence base in HR, right?
Yeah.
And so this is the real HR file, which is like, so I won't. You can find out on my Patreon who those people are that allegedly have some kind of human resource problem, right? But so these were things, I put them out, and then people inside of Lucasfilm started panicking because they hadn't heard this, and they're like, and this is true, and so now you have Kathleen Kennedy going, oh shit, I haven't told these people they're on this list, and so then they had to deal with damage control, and then Sparrow started giving me actual individual conversations that were being hovered in the office. Right.
Wow.
And I was word for word what people like Hidalgo were saying in their panic of the situation. And that made the panic worse, because now they don't know what's happening, because their words are being reported. So who the hell is reporting this? Like, who do they talk to? Like, they don't know who to trust. Like in their own company, they become afraid. I've said things, and now word for word, they're being on Cameron's Patreon. So it's obviously somebody in this room, but who the hell was it in this room? And maybe it's not somebody in this room, but then how the hell are they finding it out, right? So so this has led to a lot of panic inside of Lucasfilm, a lot of things. And so today, Sparrow came to me with a massive, because I reached out to Sparrow and said, hey, how is Lucasfilm reacting to the announcement today that Bob Iger is going ahead with the cuts that Chapek planned? Because a lot of people in Hollywood thought, Chapek's gone, Iger's going to come in and save the club. He's going to protect jobs, right? And he's like 7,000 people gone, right? And plus, and they're reducing their content creation budget by $3 billion, which means projects that don't work, that don't have an audience base, no longer have a budget. And he said that. I heard him say it today to the investors, that that the creators are going to be held accountable to the economics of it. So that's huge. That means a lot of projects
that is huge,
saying that they're going to do right they don't have a budget for anymore. So I want to find out what's happening. I want to share with you all some information and it gets crazier and crazier, right? And so I'm just going to go through. So this is what Sparrow, and I'm going to quote to you what Sparrow shared with me. And I'll tell you this stuff made me laugh out loud because the level of paranoia is going to get worse inside of Lucasfilm because this is already on my Patreon now. So I'm going to quote you some of the things. So I said, well, what happened with the impending layoff? So Sparrow got back to me, quote, excuse me, the layoffs will be focused on administrative staff and the lowest tier prop department inside Lucasfilm. They're also asking members of the location team they think might be disloyal. I'll explain what that means in a second. And for that, what happened with disloyalty, and this is the tragic part of it, is that my reporting from Sparrow, because it's so specific and they know it's real, so they know someone inside the company is leaking that level of detail that shocked them. They are now in an internal, witch trial. They're trying to find the person, and they're fingering the wrong people. They're fingering the company, like fingering people in the props department, in the locations department, people that might have access to a lot of this info, because all these people in the background hear this stuff, right? It's like in a palace. It's the person who's pouring the wine that hears everything.
Yes,
right?
Yeah.
And so they're like, because they can't imagine that it would be one of them, their buddies. So it's got to be one of these low-level people that's always in the background. So they're out targeting these poor people. And unfortunately, they're going to try to get some of these people fired, which is not my intention in putting this information out there. But that's the kind of paranoid behavior that it's gotten to. So they're like looking at, okay, this background person, that person, this low-level person, they must be the one talking to Cameron, right? So I said, well, that's bad. So, but what's going on? I said, on this like Leslye Headland's alleged Acolyte show that we keep hearing announced, like it's filming. Right?
Oh God.
So Sparrow had told me several weeks ago that there is no Leslye Headland show. It's literally smoke and mirrors. They told me specifically, and this caused more panic inside of Lucasfilm because nobody knows this. It's not being reported. The official word in Variety is they're filming her show right now. That's the official word.
What the heck?
And
That is like
they're filming what's called a presentation, which is she's desperately trying to convince Iger to give her the money for a show. And so,
that's what
she's like, here's a few scenes of the scripts we've written. Maybe a few $100,000, and we'll film those scenes and create. I've worked on these presentations on shows. You create essentially like a pitch thing where you have like 15-minute reel of what the show is going to look like, and you bring in the actors, and because you look at some of these pictures that got leaked, they're like, that's pretty mediocre costumes. It's sort of at the level of this Wheel of Time, right?
Yeah. I've worked on productions like that. Yeah.
So Lucasfilm shows are bad, but they have quality props and quality costumes. Last Jedi is a beautiful looking movie. It's just a bad script, right? So they don't do half-ass bad costumes and weird. I mean, they don't do that at Lucasfilm. They might have bad scripts, but they don't do that. And you're looking at these like pictures that are being leaked from the Acolyte show. You're like, this is bad costume stuff. I mean, this is bad. You're like, cosplay. What is this crap? Like the Wookiee looks like a joke. I mean, what is this, right? And it's because Sparrow had revealed to me that Disney had said, no, we're not going to give you the show. Convince us why we should give you the show. And so basically, Kennedy had to use her own money from whatever inner funds at Lucasfilm to put like a couple of $1 million and create like some kind of presentation. But that's not a lot.
That's insane.
That's literally that. I mean, so they revealed it. And of course, Lucasfilm panics because they've gone out to Variety claiming they're filming the show. And it's a lie. Right. And now here I am, random guy on Patreon, revealing this. So that's leading to the panic. And so I said, well, what's going on with Headland? Because if with this Iger thing coming out, they're not going to take this shit anymore long. They're just going to pull whatever budget she has for a presentation. They're not going to waste any more time on it. And this is what the Sparrow told me today. They said they're not bringing any more big names, because I'd asked about Damon Lindelof claims he has a movie. He's like, oh, there's no movie. That's just all bullshit they're all claiming in order to pressure Disney to give them the money for the movie. And in quote, direct quote, Leslie's project doesn't have a budget, and they can't afford to greenlight anything unless Mando makes money. So they are literally lying to the public and to the trades. Wow. And this is a gambit that Kennedy thought was going to work until this person decided, let me send this out.
But nobody wants that Leslye Headland project at all. Like no one wants that.
Nobody wants that. We're so sick of it.
Even if you remove yourself from Leslye Headland and all of the baggage that is involved with her, who the fuck wants to see the Acolyte? Like,
there is no market for it. There is no market for it. And that's why when she made the announcement, I knew something was wrong, because I announced that she's having a show. Who's directing the pilot? It's Leslye Headland.
Yeah.
You mean you couldn't? Lucasfilm gets A-list directors for the pilot of its shows. You get Robert Rodriguez. You may not like what Rodriguez did, but you get people of that caliber. You don't, but you don't. But you don't get Leslye Headland, who's got like made a couple of small short films, whatever. You don't get her to direct her own show. You couldn't find anybody else with Lucasfilm money. It's because they don't have a show. Nope. Robert Rodriguez is not going to come in and do a 10-minute presentation. They can't even pay him for that. So they got his Leslye, you go do it, right? Because they couldn't get anybody. And so, but this is so self-evidently obvious, but they've been lying. And now here's my person revealing this, which makes them panic, right? So I asked, okay, so the Acolyte isn't real. And now they've run out of money. So they're trapped, right? And eventually someone's going to ask, so when's the show going to premiere? And there's no show. They've literally been lying to the trades. I mean, that's how extreme it is, right?
That's insane.
I mean, Jesus Christ, there have to be 30 dead Star Wars projects at this point since the sequel trilogy has started. I mean, that is a fucking graveyard of projects.
Yeah. But this one,
how's that Rian Johnson trilogy coming, boys?
It's up there with the Damon Lindelof movie that doesn't exist, right?
I know that was hilarious.
So you got this thing. So Sparrow confirmed. Look, they're not bringing any more of these big names. They're just hunkering down until Mando comes out, and then they see how Mando does, and maybe try to get some money from Disney. Like, can you please give us the money to finish this Headland thing? Because otherwise, we're going to look really stupid. Can you give us something? And they're literally like they're at that level of desperation, right inside of Lucasfilm. And then so I asked, so what's going on with what I call the flying monkeys, who are the Lucasfilm story group and those internal executives? I call them, Ms. Kennedy's flying monkeys. That's sort of a phrase that took off. And so this is the quote this person gave me. It said, quote, Pablo is pissed at you. I wouldn't count on him asking you out to the prom. And the rest of the monkeys are saying they shouldn't be talking in public, only behind closed doors, because they're in paranoia mode, because their conversations in public, in the rooms, in the halls are being reported, right? And nobody knows how they're being reported. And so they're like,
that's crazy.
Did my fellow coworker report this? They don't know how it's happening, right? How could someone know that I said this? So the employees of Lucasfilm are imploding. They're turning on each other. They're like suspecting each other of leaking conversations. They don't even know who to talk to. So that's preventing a lot of their normal scheming, because they don't know who to trust anymore. That's their problem, because that's the culture they created, right? And this is the one thing that made me burst out laughing, because they've actually had an investigation to try to find Sparrow, because this level of information is so damning, and they know it's true. So they know it's not Cameron getting crappy sources, rumor. This is an actual person whose job I have identified, and know that they are real, and know that they are in a position to know all of these people and to know exactly what's going on. And so I now know this is not a rumor. This is a person who is either 100% lying to me and is a pathological liar, but is this person inside the company, or they're just telling me the truth, right? And the evidence suggests it's the latter. And so,
right.
And
yeah,
so
exactly.
Yeah, and so now then they said, well, what is this paranoia leading to? And so Sparrow said to me today, quote, Kennedy wants to have the place swept for bugs. She thinks you and Doomcock have the offices under electronic surveillance. Because you can't find this person, and they're reporting word. So you
this show.
I'm like, dude, do I have that kind of like they actually, because their investigation could not identify who could have possibly heard this and leaked it.
This is the show. Pitch this show.
I was going to say, between this and I want to see the behind the scenes of Kathleen Kennedy's Lucasfilms, and I want to see the behind the scenes of the Amazon Prime Rings of Power show. I 100% guarantee that the espionage drama, the political intrigue of those incidents would be far better than the products themselves.
Yes.
I also have to say, Cameron, I don't think you're giving them enough credit. I really think Phoebe Waller-Bridge is going to save Indiana Jones, and that's going to be the cash cow that's going to bring this baby home.
I've been watching these trailers. I want to like them objectively. I don't want to be like, well, anything that comes sucks. I want to enjoy Indiana Jones. I like the first three. I didn't like the fourth one, the alien one, and I want to like this. But the trailers aren't. I mean, I saw the most recent trailer. It's just not good. I mean, I don't see how this is an Indiana Jones movie. Why should I care? I mean, why? I mean, you see the trailers for Raiders of the Lost Ark, it'll still pull you in.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, some of the best trailers in the history of the business.
Yeah,
but
I mean, these incredible images from the Last Crusade, all that stuff, from Temple of Doom. I mean, they have such great visual elements. I'm like, well, you got Indy like riding a horse on a subway, and you got him cracking his whip at some dudes pulling guns on him. You got, what's this movie about? what's happening here? Is there nothing happening here that's a set piece that's of interest?
Yeah.
Well, I think they also have the fundamental problem, and I think you were actually one of the guys that confirmed this, that they basically had sort of the, if not the script, then the outline or the idea for that.
Yeah.
And they sort of they did the thing they do where they kind of like leak it on the Reddits and say like, you know, hey, what if, like how will the public respond to this idea? And everybody said absolutely fucking not. And they panicked, and now they're having to basically sort of rework everything, and it's causing massive problems. I think that was you. Maybe that was Doomcock.
Well, Doomcock certainly, I mean, to give him much credit, you know, he got the whole time travel thing, and that ended up being reported and confirmed by like the Daily Mail because they're filming in the UK, right? And I'm still hearing, and this isn't from Sparrow, so I don't know if it's true, but I'm hearing rumors that, you know, and that's what I thought, like after the, you know, before Bob Chapek was fired, you know, I actually, this was actually my first contact with Sparrow. So it actually does come from Sparrow. I remember that. The week before Bob Chapek was fired, he had actually had a very, very aggressive conversation with Kathleen Kennedy because they had seen the results of the early screenings that they denied they had. They had those screenings, right? They're just lying because lying is what they do. Of course they had those screenings because you don't make a $200 million movie without test screening it. It's against the basic protocols, you know, of risk control. You wouldn't do it, right? And so they're just lying. They had the screenings. All 5 versions of it suck. They don't work. And so he had a very ugly conversation with Kathleen Kennedy saying, I gave you a year to fix this. The fuck is this, right? I give you a year to fix this. You had a year to reshoot the whole damn thing if you needed to. And this is garbage. And the plan was to reshoot it again. Right? And I'm sure Iger continued that. So we'll see what the final ending is. I'm sure he came up with another version that will just be like, okay.